Happy to have Mike here.
Yep,
Please,
well,
thanks for
Glad to
coming.
be here.
Thanks for coming. Mike, obviously, I've had a couple of questions this morning from some of our viewers about aerodynamics and how much advantage certain pieces of equipment actually make. And we had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago of doing some really good research and study along with Specialized and a couple of the engineers, Mark Cody, just to name one of the guys. And we did some great stuff with him trying to quantify some of the differences. What was your impression? What was one of the key things that you got out of that as far as what pieces of equipment, what's actually worth investing in and what's not so important?
Well, I mean, we started off, we had a couple of goals of the test, a couple of different goals. One of them was just showing, as you know, how important aero really is. And just comparing the traditional road bike setup that we looked at and a traditional time trial setup that we looked at, it showed about the speed that we were running about a 25% benefit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a huge number.
That's a quarter of your overall power,
yeah.
just being saved by just being more aero.
Just by being more aero, going from your road bike to your time trial bike. Now, obviously, there's parts of that equation that have more influence than another. Your body position being probably
the largest portion,
being the biggest.
Right,
I mean,
it's physically the largest thing on the bike.
That accounts for about 70% of the overall drag. So, position super important. Equipment, helmets and most of the stuff on the front end of the bike definitely has a bigger impact in cutting through the wind originally.
Right.
A disc on the back wheel, it has an important role to play in helping the air once it's sort of broken around the front end of the rider, how it transitions off the back end. So it's pretty important, but front end is definitely,
Right. So we're seeing, it's interesting, a lot of the setups the guys are using here this afternoon, everyone's running a disc on the rear, no question. Some guys are running composite tri-spokes, but a lot of guys are running deep section front wheels. Obviously, my guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would have thought that using the deep section wheels, it obviously helps the handling kind of characteristics of a bike on a course like this. It tends to steer a little better around the corners and doesn't skip quite as much.
Yeah, I mean, you could imagine if you had twin discs, a disc on the front and the back, how difficult that would be to steer. I'm not really familiar with the course here, so I don't know how technical it is, but yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to have better handling characteristics over a spoke wheel than some sort of wide-bladed tri-spoke or something of that nature. But the aero characteristics of those a lot of times tend to be better. So it depends on the individual rider, kind of what preference they like.
Right. I mean, all things being equal, as far as if aerodynamics are equal, you'd go with the wheel that handles better on a course like this, for example. Aerodynamics being equal, because you would assume that you would need to be able to keep the rubber side down, as it were. That would be very important. If you crash on a course like this, your race is over, essentially. So it's most important to be able to get around the corners quickly.
You're laying on the ground.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's, unless you want to oil yourself up like one of the Greek gods and slide across the road. So yeah, exactly. So I've had the pleasure of getting up there and working with you guys. It's been a great experience for me. I think the biggest misconception of people is the fact that a lot of people think that wind tunnels are not for the general public. They're only for the pros, and only the elite end of the sport only gets an opportunity to really go to the wind tunnel and test.
Yeah,
but that's not the case.
That's not the case these days anymore. I mean, the pricing and stuff has come down, not just in our tunnel, but others as well. That makes it actually a practical thing for a lot of people. And honestly, there's a lot of age group athletes or amateur racers that can benefit more than some of the pros, because a lot of times the pros have been riding in their positions and set in their ways for so many years that they're reluctant to change or have trouble changing, where an amateur rider can take more risks, they can try more things, and a lot of times can make a much bigger improvement. Plus they have the benefit of being able to go out and buy whatever equipment that they really, what might be best for them, where a lot of the pro riders contracted to ride whatever equipment that they're set on for that year. So there's a lot of times that the amateur and private racers actually do have an advantage.
They stand a substantial amount to gain. I mean, they really do. I mean, they have the ability, especially when you're starting from a position that's not so perfect, like you said. I mean, you take something that's not perfect and make it better. I mean, that's better than trying to micro fine-tune something that's already pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen we've seen, huge gains in some people. I mean, it depends on, the position that they come in. There's some people that happen to stumble upon a pretty good position, and, we find there's a lot of times just the subtlest little change makes all the difference in the world. Not just good, but bad, too. And that's the thing that a lot of people can't do on their own. Without a tunnel, it's hard to know those small changes. Track testing is very valid, as we found out during our project that we did. And it really helps find big things. But when you try and find, a lot of the smaller details, it's almost impossible to do in an outdoor setting.
Right. Sure. Yeah, I know that I've had the opportunity to bring some clients up there through my company, NateEndurance.com. People have come to my website and hooked up with me, and I've actually escorted them up to there to the tunnel. So people can either go through NateEndurance.com, or they can go directly to you if they so choose. How do they get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with us through our website, www.a2wt.com. Or, like you said, we've done a lot of stuff through you, where you've come up quite a few times and, consulted with clients. So either through us, through the website there. We're located just north of the Charlotte area, and like I said, we help cyclists of all different levels. So
it's great. It's great. It's been an amazing learning curve for me. I know every time I go up there, I go and take care of business up there, and I always come home with something else in my back pocket that I take away that I didn't know before.
Yeah, I'm there every day, and I still continue to learn things, every day, because every person. That's the big thing to take away from it is every person is so unique.
Yeah.
That you can't just find a setup that works, for the general public or whatever. It's such an individualized thing, and I learn that more and more each day with different body sizes and shapes and things that you can and can't do with them.
And what you think is aero, what looks aero, is not necessarily the case.
Oh no, not at all.
You don't know until you test. That's why you test. So, well, great. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate you coming by and spreading the love. That's good. And hopefully, if you're around tomorrow, stop by again tomorrow. We'll have a chat again tomorrow if you're in town.
Sounds good.
All right, great. Thanks a lot. It was Mike Giroux from the O2 Wind Tunnel in Morrisville, North Carolina.